The Last Line with Ian Clark. Presented by InGoal magazine and from the Crease, the new app designed to bring Ian's more than quarter century of goalie coaching experience and expertise to goalies all over the world. I'm Kevin Woodley from InGoal magazine, and joining me, as he will every episode, this is number 4, Ian Clark, former goaltending coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Vancouver Canucks. He's worked overseas, he's worked all over the world, he's worked with some of the biggest names in goaltending, and each episode we're going to get together at The Last Line and talk about some of the trends, stories around the league now, your history in the game. We're going to take some questions from you, the listeners. We're getting better at that. Reminder, thelastline@ingoalmag.com is the email. If you've got questions you want answered from Ian Clark, send them along. If you've got questions you want answered from me, let's be honest, nobody does. So send them for Ian. All roads lead to Beer League. If you ask me questions, that's where you'll end up too. Last episode, we talked a lot about Sergei Bobrovsky, one of your former pupils. Towards the end, we were talking about skate edges. And I'm reminded of a story about his build mindset and summers and how, like, he won the Vezina Trophy and he didn't just say, okay, we're done, I'm going home. You guys had like a little research project. Can you walk me through that story?
So Bob, Sergei, I was, of course, blessed to have had the opportunity to work with this goaltender. And it wasn't just 1 year. Every year, Sergei would depart from the season. He would take a brief period to decompress, and he would then immediately, he would come to me and he'd be like, okay, Clarky, what are we going to do next? What's our next project? How are we going to take a step? So the story you're referring to was literally within a matter of a week, 2 weeks of winning his first Vezina Trophy. And he called me, he said, Clarky, I have an idea. And I said, okay, Bob, what's the idea? He goes, I know how we're going to get better for next year. This is the goalie that just won the Vezina Trophy.
Ultimate example of build mindset.
Yes. And I said, okay, Sergei, tell me your idea. He's like, how about we do this? We'll take the 5 best goalies in hockey. This is coming from the Vezina Trophy winner.
The best goalie in hockey by definition.
Right. We're going to identify the 5 best goalies. We'll study them, and we'll steal one thing from each one of them. And that's a kind of, people might think, well,
everybody else trying to steal from you.
Right. But that's the mindset he had. How can I grow? We often talked about having a limitless skyscraper. You're just always adding another stairwell to the skyscraper. What stairwell or what flight of stairs are we going to add next? So he came to me and he asked me that. So we identified the goalies.
Are you willing to share the 5 goalies that he identified as the 5 best in the game?
Well, he didn't. We did it jointly. Okay. I don't even remember exactly.
That
but
sounds
it was
like a cop-out to me.
No. I'll give you some names. You know the time frame that would have been?
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I'm going to say it was probably 2012, 2013, maybe?
Around there, yeah.
So, Carey Price.
Okay.
I'm certain he was on that
Absolutely.
list. I am thinking Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah, I can see that.
Pekka Rinne.
Yeah.
Tuukka Rask.
Yes. All very
Jonathan
different,
Quick.
too, in how they did it. There you go. Okay. We've got a list.
I don't know if that was the exact
But that's
list,
a pretty good list.
But
and they're all unique.
Of course.
But very unique. Yeah.
All great goalies are unique.
There you go.
So so we identified these 5 goalies, and of course it was my task.
You got to do the homework.
I got to do. Bob went to Maldives. I got to
do the video.
So, anyways, I got to work on this and watched a handful of games of each goaltender to see if something really stepped out at me. And of course, lots did, and it was actually a wonderful experience, to be honest with you, and very interesting. And one of the things that came out of it, though, which might be shocking and surprising, because all those goalies probably would have been characterized as largely butterfly goalies.
Right.
Every goalie, every one of those goalies, and every game I watched had some standing saves, which is, and in retrospect, it's not surprising to me,
No,
but at the
it's true.
time, it was really interesting, and what it absolutely cemented in my brain was the power of patience,
Okay.
the power of neutrality.
We talked about that in one of the early episodes. We defined neutrality in one of the earlier episodes.
And so, and the power, from a reactive standpoint, the importance of patience. So, I actually, coming out of that project, I do a lot of talent evaluation, obviously scouting and what have you. And I actually look for that now. And have for a number, for well over a decade now. But it is, if I see a goaltender making some, I say some because of course, largely,
Can't make them all.
No, largely you're going to go down.
Yeah.
So some standing saves, I am watching the goalies. I'm watching are they premeditating a down move or do they actually have true patience? Because if I have true patience and there's nobody, say, around me and there's no other complication or dynamic and maybe it's a long shot, why wouldn't I just stand up and catch that puck or knock it away or whatever? Right. Every one of these goalies had some standing saves in every single game I watched. And so we came with that in mind, and based on our research project, which was what can we steal, we started building drills that actually supported that mindset.
Okay, so it's not like you're going to tell Sergei Bobrovsky to stand up on everything.
No.
But you started to build drills that had components where he was making saves. Like, walk me through, like, when you say we built drills out like that, so that he would make some standing saves? Walk me through what that looks like. Well, are we talking about warm-ups? We talk about warm-ups 1, 2, 3, high.
Yes, and
down.
Well, that and to be clear, Bob would stand up on some.
He already did.
He already did. Okay, but it was an important maintenance element for Bob, or and of course I've carried that forward since then. So designing drills and allowing a lot of times we watch goalies and they're standing up in practice and they're never going down. We're like, wow, that's a lazy goalie. They're not following all of the habits and they're not playing it like a game. They're strategizing it or they're whatever. The reality of it is, okay, some standing saves do have value because it's a great indicator of patience on the feet of a game, mixing in, okay? And for us at the time, it was about maintaining that blend or balance in the game and nourishing that patience. And so it was almost symbolic more than it was anything else. Like you can imagine if you're doing drills that incorporate some standing saves, symbolically, it's kind of embedding in your subconscious that that's okay. This is not a cheat. It's not a laziness. It's okay to make some standing saves. So, for example, you mentioned 1, 2, 3 was a drill that I created a long time ago, and it's called 1, 2, 3.
And it's primarily warm up on a game day. I've seen you do it with goalies here in Vancouver, Demko, pretty much all of them.
All basically every goalie.
Right.
Incorporated this simple drill. It's very simple. Basically, it's 3 shots to the glove. First shot, the goalie will stand on. It has to be catchable.
Right.
First shot will be shot. Can be here, up high. It could be a scoop down, depending on the situation. Has to be catchable. Shot to the glove, you stand. Second shot to the glove, you can go down, or you will go down. And the third one, you will stay down. Because, of course, we need to be able to make saves from our feet. We need to be able to make saves going down, and we need to be able to make saves from our knees. So, just symbolically, 1, 2, 3, shot to the glove standing, shot to the glove going down, shot to the glove staying down. You might do 3 sets of that. Then you do the same on the blocker side. 1 standing, 2 going down, 3 staying down. And it's just a warm-up drill. It's good visual tracking. Okay, and while it's good handwork, it's good, all those things. Okay, and symbolically and innately, it's embedding some patience in your game.
It's funny because I used to wonder that. I'd watch all these drills, and there are a lot of goalies that do a similar type drill for warm-up in the NHL, and I'd wonder why they were making saves standing up, or actually I'd even wonder why they were working on their hands from their knees repetitively when most of the saves we make in a game are transitioning from stance to knees to butterfly and making saves with the hands. So it's a great sort of outline of why we do that. Do you mix it into other parts of drills? I guess one you mentioned there, and this might be good for young kids. We all have those experiences in practice where it's just coming fast and furious, and keeping up to it would be impossible. So you can either complain that the drills and the shots are coming too fast, you can stop trying, or you can go to your goal line.
Well, what you can do is find a way to make the best of your environment.
Right.
Now, I'm going to bring a name out on the table here.
Okay.
Who I spent multiple years with, and Sergei and I spent multiple years with, John Tortorella.
Okay.
And Torts was a coach that believed very, in high pace, high energy out of the gate. His practices were just boom, 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 boom. And it was shot, 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 shot. High tempo, high pace, high accuracy. And at the end of the day, what ended up on net, he wasn't really too concerned about. He was worried about the pace. He was worried about the ignition out of practice for the whole group. And so we found a way. How do, so often we're told as goalies, you got to follow every rebound. You got to, honor the save process. You got to have the great habits, all these things. But the reality is your practice environment doesn't always account for that for the goalie.
Right.
And so what we said was, okay, Torts is going to do that. That's his thing. He's the head coach. That's his domain.
Right.
So what can we do to find a benefit in there? And so one of the things we would do is we would, for the first component of the first set of the drill, we would be right out in position doing our thing. Maybe for this, and it was coming so fast and furious. And Sergei Bobrovsky is one of the best conditioned goaltending athletes in the world.
Right.
And it was a lot for him even. So what we found was really helpful is let's drop back to our goal line and let's use our hands, your number 3 anatomical, behind eyes and feet. Eyes, feet, hands in that order. Those are your three top anatomicals. Let's go back. Okay, and let's work our hands. Let's work those quick twitch reactions. Okay, and we're not going down every time. We're not following every rebound, but we're gaining a benefit from that. Then it also conserved a little bit of energy as well. Then boom, right back out, away we go again. So it was kind of the same thing. It was just about bringing some balance to what we were doing. Just like 1, 2, 3. Having balance between reacting from feet, going down, staying down, all these types of things. And then, in practice, to ensure that we were finding a benefit from whatever environment we were presented with, because we don't get to control our team practice environment, as you well know. And so we want, as a build mindset goalie, I want to find a way to use these reps to my benefit. And I will say this too. The one skill that can be executed on every single shot in practice, there's only one. Okay? Only one. And that is visual tracking of the puck. It doesn't matter. Okay?
I was going to say, you were talking about hands, and I was thinking the eyes as an anatomical would be part of that drill too.
Right.
Key.
So that shot is boom, boom. And you're tracking that puck. So you're getting that, there's lots of ways to turn your environment into a productive growth mindset environment, regardless of what, is at first glance, maybe not goalie friendly.
I was just going to say, have you dealt with that in other situations? I mean, that's this happens at the NHL level. This is a Vezina Trophy winning goaltender in a situation where practice isn't necessarily for him or about him. We've heard, and at InGoal, we've fallen victim to it. I remember over the years writing about this a little bit, how there's just so much practice that isn't good for the goalies, or it's not about the goalies. And we hear younger goalies complain, say, that's just not realistic. I don't want to do that drill. It's not realistic. Finding ways to make it to your benefit is a skill. And you reversed engineered that one. Can you think of any other examples where times in practice, a different way to get something out of it?
Well, think of, for example, sometimes, for the purpose of system play.
Right.
Again, your head coach has domain over that practice plan.
It's not just all about us, right? The other stuff matters.
Not. And so let's use, for example, coach wants to see real crisp execution on a breakout.
Okay.
And there's no defensive pressure. It's a 5-on-0 breakout, and you're going to go down the ice and effectively face a 5-0 breakaway.
Right.
And we've all seen this, and we've seen
right up to the NHL, yes.
We've seen different reactions by different goalies. And I'm going to put another name out there on the good side of the equation.
Okay, good. We'll keep it positive.
Yes. But, we've seen those situations where, and you referenced it already, goalies saying, well, that's not realistic, that's unfair, whatever. So that 5-on-0 comes down, and the pass goes cross net, and they put it back the opposite side again, and it's across the net twice, 3 times, and they put in the empty net, and the goalie's sitting there with their hands in the air, like, that's absurd. That's absurd.
Tic-tac-toe.
Yeah. And basically give in on the play.
Yeah.
Now there was a goalie that I knew, and I had the great opportunity to work with him with Team Canada. And this goalie's name was Marc-André Fleury. Incredible goaltender, incredible career. The more challenging what he was presented with. Okay, one of the most positively infectious players you're ever going to encounter. He welcomed the challenge. And the harder the moment, the more seemingly absurd the moment, the bigger the smile went onto his face, because his attitude was, okay, no problem. Let's go. Let's compete. So we transform those moments. Maybe technically, maybe they're not perfect game realistic situations, but can we tackle that moment maybe with some of the intangibles? Maybe go play with your teammates and have some fun with them. Maybe work on your compete and your instincts and finding those creative, challenging solutions that are ultimately the game-turning saves that bring your teammates to their feet on the bench. How are we going to ever develop those if every time there's a challenge we say that's unfair or that's absurd?
It's a great way of thinking of it. And again, these elements that you talk about, compete being one, the goalie IQ, because you have to solve that equation. Sometimes it's just compete, sometimes it's finding different ways.
Right.
Sometimes it's a combination of the two. Those are part of your 7 foundations of elite goaltending. Like they're important skills. So instead of saying, this sucks,
right,
this isn't realistic, if you can find a way to, like, going back on the goal line is a way to sort of manage it from a tactical standpoint and work on something like your hands, just competing like crazy and having fun with it, you're still developing skills that are important. You're nourishing those things.
Right. And the thing that also comes out of that is your teammates love you. It's always a bit of a downer when the goalie is complaining. You're the backbone of the team. You are the strength of the team. So own that, embrace it, relish it, wrap your arms around that, and tackle those challenging moments with positivity and compete and take that approach. And what's going to happen is your teammates are going to want to go to war for out in front of you and battle for you. And you're going to get a subliminal benefit out of that too.
The smile while you're doing it is important too. I mean, I talked to Philip Gustafson recently about the lessons he learned having Marc-André Fleury as a partner, and he talked about how as his career went on and became a job, you start to become a professional and there's expectations and you get pay. Fleury just reminded him that it's still a game and to go have fun with it. And that mindset was a major shift for him. And it's, it's a good reminder that even at the National Hockey League level, like, these guys get challenged with the same type of drills you hate in Bantam. And the ones that find unique solutions to it and ways to enjoy it are typically the ones that have more success.
Right. I was talking recently with a long-time colleague, I guess you would call it, Mitch Korn, one of the legendary goalie coaches in the history of the game. And we were talking about the commonalities of elite goalies. And for him, there was 2. It's real simple stuff. Okay? And you got to remember, Mitch coached Dominic Hasek.
Yes. Pekka Rinne.
Thomas Vokoun, Pekka Rinne,
Braden Holtby. Yep.
You know,
UC
Saros, incredibly unique goalies. You know, and we were talking about and kind of comparing notes, and you know, you think about Roberto Luongo, Sergei Bobrovsky, Jacob Markstrom, Thatcher, very different goalies.
Yeah.
And the reality is, the great ones are always unique. That's one of the reasons they're great. But we were talking about the commonalities. 2, absolutely love to play. And number 2, out of this world competitiveness. Like another level, not just like go to the Webster Dictionary and figure out what compete is defined as. No, we're talking about out of this world competitive in nature. And that's what, you know, even though they were ultra unique, those are the commonalities. You gotta love to play.
As a goalie coach, and I think I would refer people back to episode 1 too, there are ways to get that out of goalies, like the competitiveness. Like some of it's somewhat innate, but there are ways to make sure that it's not lost. There are ways to maintain it, to encourage it, to nurture it through the way you structure your drills. And I would encourage people to go back to the first episode of The Last Line with me and Ian, which wasn't quite as clean as this one, but we got to a lot of different topics, and that was one of them. So make sure you go back and check that out. Okay, so that was great. But we agreed, less of me, more of you, more of the listeners is a good thing. More questions.
Right. For me, not you.
Yes, 100%. Right. Because nobody really wants to know how to get to beer league and how to be a below average beer league goalie. But if you ever do, hit me up. This is a question from Ty Party on stance. And I didn't write it down exactly, so I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, Ty. But basically the question was along the lines of, do you tell goalies to engage their core to stay upright? Find when I do multi-shuffle plays, and I think he said but doing multi-shuffle plays, there's a tendency to sink. And so how do you approach that? Do you talk about that? Because your guys do a lot of shuffling. You talk about the reverse track, a lot of shuffles back down to the post as a tactic. Do you think of it from a physiological in terms of the core, or how do you approach that when you're talking to goalies?
Well, let me first of all say I am a big advocate of balanced deployment of your lateral tools. So I'm not a primary shuffle guy. There's some of those out there. I'm a big believer in balancing your shuffle work, okay, with your T-push work.
Right.
However, let's get on to Ty's question.
Okay.
So,
but a reverse track is a bunch of shuffles down to the post, right?
That is a track down.
Track down. See,
reverse tracking.
I'm getting there, folks. We need to see again. Fire up the glossary. Reverse tracking is with one skate on each post.
Correct.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah. Track down. Play down the wall.
Yeah.
Incremental footwork down to clean entry to post.
There we go.
Yeah.
Track down, not reverse track. We've got that. Fire up the goalie glossary. Make sure you check that out from the Crease. They're going to have a glossary of all these terms. Let's get back to Ty, less of me, more of Ian.
So I don't reference it as Ty has phrased the question. I do talk a lot about athletic posture. And so maybe, that's tying in a little bit here. Tying. And so as you know, Kevin, I'm a big proponent of a multi-stance system.
Right.
Goalies have multiple stances, okay, and we want to craft our stances to serve specific game function. So if I'm in a preparational mode and I need preparational function, I'm typically going to be a little bit higher up, a little bit less flexed, a little bit narrower, okay, in order to have high mobility and big presentation.
Right.
As the play, if I'm a little bit uncertain, well, let's go to the obvious one. If I'm getting ready to make a save, I'm probably going to be in fuller stance, a little bit wider, a little bit lower, okay, a little bit more explosive in a save function kind of mindset and physiology. And then if I'm somewhere in between, I'm a little bit uncertain. I'll give you an example. You got Connor McDavid rolling on your right flank. If I lock in on full stance, low stance on Connor McDavid, there's a very high likelihood he's going to find a guy on the opposite flank named Leon Draisaitl.
Right.
And you're probably not going to get over there because you're locked in now,
I probably skated to the bench 5 minutes ago, but yes.
You didn't get the start, actually. Now, if I'm too high in that moment, Connor McDavid's probably going to take advantage of that and say, "We'll just snap a shot here," and he doesn't look like he's functionally ready to make this save.
Right.
And Leon's not going to get a point on the play.
Okay. He probably made the first pass anyways.
You're probably right. And so in that case, I might use something we would refer to as middle stance, so that we have some save function and some preparational function. And so, but regardless of those stances, you need athletic posture because you're doing an athletic endeavor here. The goaltending is a very athletic endeavor. And so when we say athletic posture, there is form. These aren't sloppy, lazy, casual. Your body is engaged.
I was just going to say, again, you don't think of it in terms of how Ty asked it, but you're probably needing core engagement to hold all three of those postures.
Right.
So your posture isn't sinking, Ty, as you come down necessarily just because of your core.
Right. But I would say this about core, because core is one of the physiological pillars to great goaltending. And so, whether that's the rotational elements of goaltending, okay, because if you don't have strong core, you're going to lose control of your hands on rotation, as an example. Okay, right. And in general terms, coming back, I think to
swinging.
Of course, we call it anatomical conflict, because sometimes the goaltender's needs don't align with the normal physiological things that, like the reverse position, or some of these positions are not
natural
things that the human body wants to do.
Right.
And so often on rotation, for example, as that rotation comes around, the hands will swing back the opposite way. Not only does that affect performance, because it can affect their rotation, bringing it up short, it can block the visual on that side, and I don't have a hand available if there's a quick play at the net.
Yeah,
I need that hand and support we talked about
counter-rotated,
in our last episode.
swung it the other way. Right.
Right. And so core, helps support hand and arm stability and rotation. In addition, I think we can, most people in the physiological realm of things are going to tell you that, power comes from the center, or strength comes from the center. If you drop a pebble into a pond, you get the rings emanating out, and the highest one is going to be in the middle. So, a lot I cannot overemphasize the importance of core strength and stability to the goaltending position for all of these reasons, and no doubt, Ties, I wouldn't say to a goalie necessarily, hey, make sure you got an active core here. I think that would be more of a common physiological term associated with athletic posture and play
in a lot of sports. And
right. And so, I don't have a problem with the phrasing of the question. I would phrase it a little bit differently, but I get what Ty say.
At the end of the day, Ty, if you recognize that sinking, sitting, dropping as you're trying to maintain that tall, narrow stance isn't what you want, whether it's the core or maybe some leg things, like there's probably a need to do some strengthening work to make sure you can maintain that when you want to be in that stance, and recognize the transition and when you want to be in the other one, as in talked about through the three different stance systems. I haven't asked you this yet. I assumed, because I know that from the Crease, the app, which is one of the presenting sponsors of this show, and has all these different elements, is there a training physiological element in there as well?
Right. So every module, FTC is modular based.
Right.
There are 8 modules per year. Every module has 6 lessons. And the lessons obviously have different themes every time, but there are 6 categories of lesson. The first one is always called the foundation. These are the foundational elements of the position. It does not matter if you're a beginner or young goaltender, or you're a National Hockey League goalie. Kobe Bryant always talked about never get bored with the basics.
Right.
And the reality of it is the basics, the foundational elements of the position, are fundamental to success at any level of play. The second one is called tactical advantage. It is about the strategies of gameplay. We can do all the technique in the world. At the end of the day, gameplay is not about technique.
Right.
Technique serves some elements of it. But at the end of the day, there is so much more to the goaltending position than technique, which is the 7 ingredients to elite level goaltending that we've talked about. The third one is called leading edge skills. These are the next frontier of goaltending. These are the skills that are going to take the position forward. And we've seen this over the course of our time together, over the last 30 years of goaltending, and seeing the advancement of the position. And that's what happens in that particular lesson. The fourth in every module is called goaltender physiology.
There we go.
So there it is. Okay. And I'll just quickly say the fifth is called the mental game, because we know the importance of the mind in goaltending and any athletic endeavor, really. And the sixth lesson in every module is called the journey. And it is perspective-driven content, either internally generated or through experts that are outside of FTC.
Including, we mentioned him in this show. I had talked to him earlier this week, and I understand he's going to provide one of them, the legend himself.
Mitch
Korn.
Mitch Korn, yes. Mitch Korn is contributing. Roberto Luongo has contributed. Curtis McElhaney has contributed. We have, just some incredible contributions that are going to support the journey of goaltenders as they embark on their career.
So to rewind it back to 4, the physiology, some training and exercises within that,
Yes.
like different things for different levels. And
All lessons, okay?
and tied to what we're in that module.
All lessons, with the exception of the journey, have activities or drills.
And Ty, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some core work in there, even if that's not necessarily what he would have said.
That would be module 2. That would be module 2.
See, there we go. All right, module 2. This is episode 4 of The Last Line. I'm Kevin Woodley from InGoal Magazine, Ian Clark from the Crease. Thank you for your questions. Ty, that was awesome. We'll get to lots more of those as we move along. Again, the whole goal here is, and we're only 4 in, less me, more you. Send those questions to The Last Line, all one word, The Last Line, at ingoalmag.com. We'll make sure we get them answered for you in a future episode.